And then we're going to go to Samuel Lee, who's crypto carbon expert. I talked with him into some great detail. He's going to keep it kind of high level for us, but he's doing Climate Coin, and I'll let you take it away, Sam.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. Hi, everyone. This is Samuel from Climate Coin. For a brief introduction of myself, I was with CDP Korea, where I had the opportunity to be involved with ESG-related policy engagement and introducing ESG-related laws, including mandatory reporting, corporate procurement for renewables, and also mandatory public procurement for ESG consideration in public procurement. Matt has been really careful about raising awareness on this stuff. So I would rather than talking about my project, I would like to spend half of my presentation on how I see the blockchain space has started embracing climate change and carbon markets overall. I think last year was a pivoting year for the crossroad of Web3 and climate change. Before that, we've seen a lot of discussions primarily focused on how bad blockchain was for climate change, right? I personally find it ridiculous if you compare the amount of emissions to actual corporate emissions, because it's all relative. But coming to the phenomena, the way that blockchain has responded were two ways. One was to purchase carbon offsets, which was adopted by many NFT projects, platforms, and exchanges, or switch to renewables, primarily for mining groups. But then a lot of conventional stakeholders jumped into the space, and this was in play for a long time. So Davos Forum has been recommending policy suggestions for policymakers worldwide on the promise of Web3 in addressing climate change problem. BIS has conducted second pilots where they were tokenizing green bonds and carbon credits. World Bank launched their Climate Action Data Trust. IETA released their guideline. Among the Web3 players, Celo was the first to take action, where they have rebranded entirely into a climate thesis by dedicating 40% of their treasury to acquiring nature assets. Hedera launching 100 million sustainable impact funds, primarily focused on corporate use. And then last year in November-ish, Consensus launched the thing called Ethereum Climate Platform. So I'll dig into detail later what the implications are for this. Blockchain application in voluntary carbon markets, people are still trying to defend the use of blockchain application, but this has been the feasibility of using blockchain for VCM or compliance markets has actually been studied by the World Bank itself as early as 2018, where they has conducted pilots of transferring gold standard credits across, between Japan and Chile back in 2018 on private Ethereum. So there's an growing interest, and this is a short snapshot of where I think the blockchain has a role to play in carbon markets. I will just briefly touch on this stuff. Price transparency, MRV, where we have open forest protocol in our next session. Prevention of double claiming, where I think the role of a climate action data trust by World Bank is significant. The rolling out of new methodologies, where I think the role of decentralized science, regenerative science communities' role is important. And last, greenhouse gas measurement and enhanced monitoring, where I think Guardian or Hedera is playing a great role. And then also at the facilitation of climate finance, we are seeing participation from lending borrowing protocols in facilitating and investing in climate-related projects. So this intersection of Web3, I mean, I'll have to start with how the short-term outlook for on-chain credits and carbon markets. I think the demand will come first. I don't see a near future where companies will be purchasing on-chain credits while they have the option to buy off-chain. So layer one carbon offsetting needs, NFT projects, and also especially in the post-Terra era, where we're no longer seeing high APIs. DeFi protocols are growing to rely on real-world assets, and carbon credits is actually ranking in the third, fourth rank in for their destination of investments. ReFi currently relies heavily on existing registries, and because of the Veras and Gold Standard's moratorium on tokenization, interestingly, most of the ReFi stakeholders are now focused on biodiversity credits, which I'll tackle later on. Someone has spoken about biodiversity credits, biodiversity markets. I am of the different opinion in the sense that the reason we are not seeing action today on biodiversity is because there are no relevant framework for companies and countries to take action. So I'll give you two standards that I think are relevant. As a person who has been engaging Korean companies to subscribe to commit to net zero initiatives or reporting frameworks, I had TNFD and SBTN, but I couldn't really get them to commit to them because the standards were not ready. And if you consider that companies are they're important stakeholders in making actions. It will take at least a year for that to solidify. And I think that's the reason why we're not seeing rapid actions today. Tokenized carbon credits, I think within a year, we're going to see the first use case of collateralized loans. The reason we're not seeing is because of lack of price oracles and also lack of actually on-chain credits. Even the flow program is expected to launch as little as 4 million. This, in terms of the number of credits, the number of tokens, this is nothing. So we need more influx of on-chain credits to blockchain for this to happen. Long-term outlook, carbon standard related discussions are happening. Also important to monitor how VCM will interact with compliance markets. And also it is a point of contention whether carbon forwards is a security or a commodity, where I think it's going to have interesting difference across geography. Matt, do I have like 2 more minutes? Am I over the time?
No, you have a few more minutes.
Sure, thank you.
Do you want to take some questions or you're presenting?
Just 2 more minutes for presenting, and I'll be happy to take questions.
Okay, we won't have a lot for questions, but a few. We can go to about 45. Okay.
Okay. So this is where I like to introduce Climate Coin in short. We don't think that we are silver bullet for voluntary carbon markets, but what we want to do is to make MakerDAO experience enabling MakerDAO experience for project developers. What it means is that project developers go through a lot of challenges in finance as they go through operation. And imagine telling them that the carbon credits that they own, with that, they can deposit into a DeFi bank and take out loans so that they can reinvest in their projects and thereby accelerating climate action. Because we know from the experience from Green Climate Fund, where our co-CEO was a chief for 8 years, it takes up to 2 years for for projects to get approved. So there are value propositions in that regard for project developers. We are a two-way bridge where the price of on-chain credits are synchronized with off-chain credits. The way we enable collateralized on loans are a mixture of off-chain, on-chain solutions. We are also largely present in Latin America, where we have few institutional level agreements. We are also eyeing the compliance market because we think that the voluntary carbon market, as we know it, is going to disappear within the decade. So with that, I would like to end the presentation, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
So yeah, I got one. So you just made a statement that the voluntary market's going to end within a decade. Is that because you think it will become all mandatory, or you have a different premise there?
No, no. So last year we've seen a sudden decline in carbon credits. The way I see it from a corporate perspective is because there's been legal prosecutions made towards the companies that are using carbon offsets to claim net zero targets. So what was mandatory, what was voluntary is now entering into the realm of compliance. So you would still think that SBTI is a voluntary because it comes, I mean, by definition, it's a group of companies that are committing to net zero targets. But as it is picked up by governments, namely, for example, US government and making SBTI mandatory for their federal contractors, it's now entering the realm of compliance. The reason why there's also legal prosecutions made towards companies is because the reporting on greenhouse gas, I mean, scope 1, 2, 3 emissions are now becoming mandatory. With enhanced legal obligations and what they are putting on their mainstream reports, even on the corporate side, this use of carbon credits will have to go through a lot of legal requirements, and that's the way I think it. I also like to point out the recent event on Vera. Because of that, several countries are now considering ruling out the avoided deforestations because of that event. And so actually Vera, or I mean gold standard, this voluntary carbon standards are fighting for their space. So we're going to a lot of ups and downs, and that's the reason why I think voluntary carbon credit markets as we know it is not going to be the same in 10 years.
Okay, fair enough. All right, if anyone has a real quick question, raise your hand. Otherwise, we're going to go right over to Amar, lecturer at, I forget the university that you're at in Indonesia, but we met in Regen Economics, didn't we? Amar?
Hello, Matt. Hello, Matt.
Yeah, hey. We
Hey.
met in Regen Economics, right?
Yes,
Amar?
that's right. With John Fullerton
Okay.
and Ken Rawat.
Yeah, and so we've discussed a little bit back and forth about what some of the local fishermen can do in the local fishing communities in Indonesia to
Yeah.
sort of, regenerate their economy.